Shut up, fool!
I can admit it. Jesus drowned babies. Get over it.
Yes, Theist Thursday on Fridays. You know, I start every one of these live streams not having a clue what I'm going to say. Usually. Well, I have a clue. And I have maybe some things I could do, but really this is all just half my brain tied behind my back to make it fair and having some fun. The reason why I wasn't here Thursday is because, as you know, I became a real American on February 10th, 2023. A pivotal date in American history, February 10th. And so, that's once you're sworn in as an American citizen, there's still lots of work to do, including changing the status of your social security card and getting passports. And so that's what me and my wife did for most of the day yesterday, because I don't know, it was kind of good to be with the little people in a social security waiting room. It's sort of like the DMV. And so my wife and I waited there for 2 hours. But we had great service once we were in. The guy who helped us out to change our status on our social security was a great guy. I think he served in the Air Force and is now working for the Social Security Administration. But as we waited, me and my wife, we would play word games, Wordle and all these other types of word games. And I must say, my wife is way better than me because her father was Oxford trained. He was a PhD in English. And he would ask me questions like, Doug, what time do you break your fast? And he would always tease me because I was just a farm boy from Manitoba. But all that said, I'm pretty good at my words. My mama, she learned me real good on how to speak good and how to do words good. So I can come close. But no one here should ever challenge my wife to a game of Scrabble. She will make your buttocks red and your face red with shame. Hey, the preacher man. Well, I've talked to you so many times. You don't need to call in. You and I both know, preacher man, that you're one of the only few of the 144,000 true Christians in the world. I more want to talk to fake Christians so you can be on my side and cheer me on. Isn't that what this is all about? And not just Christians, Muslims, Jews. You know, and I got to say this. A lot of you atheists out there, you love it when I pick on Christians. But you get a little more apprehensive when I pick on Jews or Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists. I mean, you might hurt their feelings, Doug. But the Christian feelings, go ahead. Let them have it. I mean, you guys got to stop being hypocritical. Daniel Seamster, thank you so much for your $2. did the flying man fly for our sins? Well, in the hypothetical, he sure did. And if that matters to someone, he sure did. But that the flying man can be massaged and molded to exactly the purpose it is meant for. You're exempt too, Oflamio. Let's try to get some fresh perspectives in today. I saw that Tyler Vela talked to Derek on Myth Vision today. I missed it, but I saw it. It was there. I did talk to Tyler Vela, who is a Calvinist Christian, who's now just a general theist, I think. And I asked him some questions. And I'm not saying this as a bad thing, but I think Tyler doesn't really know what he believes right now, and that's okay. It's totally okay. I asked, well, hang on.
Of it. Okay, I haven't asked you this before, but I'm dying to know this. Who is God to you now?
That's a really good question. First of all, welcome to America.
Thank you.
Do you now eat with like a plate of bacon and a loaded handgun?
Yeah, I'm trying to gain 40 pounds, and I'm looking for a gun to buy so I can be a true American.
Well, the best way to do it is just go to a NASCAR event, get your bucket of fried chicken, and a lot of
I don't understand NASCAR. Like, you just watch cars go around in circles.
A lot of low calorie beer, but beer nonetheless. And you do it. The more you say America, I think also it.
I'll pump up my volume.
So So who's God to me now? It's a really good question because I'm not sure. Right, I'm still a classical theist, largely because again for worldview consistency, I think it's the best explanation. I think some of the arguments. I was convinced by an atheist. I don't know if you know a bunch of my backstory. But I was raised secular. I was an atheist, for half of my first college program.
How many times have we heard this? And again, not to knock Tyler, but I was a cold-hearted atheist, and then I found Jesus.
And it was actually in a philosophy class with an atheistic. I was actually Canadian. An atheistic Canadian professor of mine in philosophy is my metaphysics class, and we were going through arguments for God. And he actually gave the moral.
The only good thing about watching NASCAR, is it gives you time to sit there and pop your own zits.
Argument. He gave he did a better job, I think, than William Lane Craig did. And he basically showed he said as a naturalist, I don't really have great. He gave a lot of the normal responses. I don't have a great response to this. And it was the type of thing that started undermining. I was somewhat of a quasi-naturalist, I think, started undermining those things. So I actually I was a philosophical theist before I ever became a Christian. So I kind of went through a progress into naturalism, agnosticism, theism, Christianity, Reformed Christianity, and then kind of back. I don't know if it's going to stop now at theism. I feel like it will, because I think at this point I'd probably need to.
Yeah, listen to this. This is interesting. Will it stop at theism? I feel like it will. Famous last words.
Feeders for those arguments.
I was talking to Camille today in the Facebook Messenger, and Camille was present during the Myth Vision live stream with Tyler today, and asked some good questions. And Tyler mentioned that Lycona was a major influence in him leaving Christianity. I didn't get into the details why, but then Camille and I were kind of thinking or talking about, will Lycona ever leave Christianity? And I say no. And I'll bet. Anybody want to bet on this? The reason why I say no is the difference between Tyler and Lycona is I think Tyler has less emotional needs for Christianity. He doesn't need it as much as Lycona does. That's number one. And number two, I think Lycona has seen things that he believes, or heard things that he believes is like the spiritual demonic realm, and that scares him, or it makes him think that, naturalism is definitely false. And I don't know for sure, but I think Tyler hasn't had those types of experiences, or believes flying trash can lids hits a wall and slides down because demons did it. I don't think he's not as gullible, in other words, as Lycona. So I would bet Lycona will never leave Christianity. If you're the type of person who just has more of the gullibility gene, I think you're more likely to stay in religion, specific religion. Definitely religions like Christianity that believes in a lot of this spiritual, demons are out to tempt you and angels are out to protect you. And I'm saying this also to get people, theists who might be listening right now, incentive to call in as well. And
I've been doing this for long enough that like I haven't.
Well, it all depends. It all depends on your definition of God now, I think, for you. Because if you, like you mentioned, you were a philosophical theist before, and you mentioned the moral argument. If you believe God is all good, I think you're in trouble.
Yep.
It depends. Because the you could think that God is all good, and even that God is providential somehow. But you don't have to have God that's interventionist. And I agree with you that if you think God...
But that kind of makes him look like a schmuck. And I think it does come close to a contradiction or a tension. You know, if God does not want someone to rape another person, go through that pain, physical and emotional, and he has all the power to stop it and chooses not to. In fact, he has all the power and foreknowledge to prevent it, and he chooses not to. That makes him, at least in some part, culpable for every rape that's ever happened on the planet. So to say he's all good, yet does that, allows that. And again, I don't think there's a big difference between God causing and God allowing when you're omniscient and omnipotent. Those two things combined, I think you can take allowing equals causing. Thanks, Keith X. Doug, check out Eli Yoder. Now I was just going to say that's a Mennonite name, but ex-Amish guy. Well, actually, no, Yoder is more of a Hutterite name. Would be a great interview, I think. Thanks for your channel. Eli Yoder, ex-Amish guy. I wonder if he still wears the suspenders.
God is all good and interventionist, given the facts of the world. That's going to cause a lot of conflict.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think God is intervening in the world, and is he powerful?
I think God is powerful. I don't think that I don't know that God is intervening in the world. And again, everything I say here is super provisional.
I understand.
Yeah. So,
but by the end of tonight, we'll have it all figured out. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll hash it out. We'll solve world hunger. And I think I would be surprised if God is interventionist.
Wow. Yeah, and I think I asked him right after this, well, why aren't you just a deist then?
Put it that way.
Right.
So what makes you different than from just a deist then?
I'm not sure. I think that, well, maybe I'm not sure. I still am going through the process because, you know, as you remember from deconverting, you kind of go through and you the way I think about it is like
apostasy says his position still confuses me. Well, yeah, that's because I don't think he really has figured what exactly he believes yet. And that's totally okay. In fact, I would say he should first, maybe ask himself the question, what does it matter? Why does he even care? Why not just live with the uncertainty and live your life?
You kind of take a bunch of concepts out of the back of the junk drawer that were there, and you have to like relook at them again and like see how they fit and fit back in the puzzle again. You know, I'm still doing that for a bunch of things. You know, and right, I'm a classical theist. I might become a non-classical theist eventually through something like this. I don't know. I don't know, but it may be the case that because I think that God is the ground of all being, that God still has to do something like what the Christians mean when they say God upholds all things by the word of his power. It's
still raise Jesus from the dead.
That God has to exert some power just to keep everything going. Again, I don't know.
Do you lean towards that God's omniscient?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I think that's a problem for you.
It might be. But
because if he's omniscient and all powerful.
What I like about this is it's not like Tyler feels the need to push back. I can just say God being all good and all powerful, or omniscient, I think. Yeah, omniscience. I appreciate the fact Tyler didn't say, no, it's not a problem for me. He said, yeah, actually it might be. But might not be.
And he created this?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Maybe. So again, not saying this is what I believe. But I may find the attractiveness of this simply because I'm used to having an eschatology. And so I may find affinity for this.
Yeah, so if you want to watch the rest of this, go to the Freed Thinker channel on YouTube, and you can watch the rest of this. Someone sent me this the other day, and you guys know me. I've told you that I don't read books. I read parts of books. I watch a lot of things. I listen to a lot of things. And it's interesting that I've never heard of this guy before. I don't even know who this is. I really don't care who this is. But what I do find interesting is he sounds like me from, I don't know, 2001, 22 years ago. And listen to this guy. He sounds exactly like me.
Would have been otherwise, and God cannot control what they write. I tell you, if they had libertarian freedom, is the Word of God? Ask yourself the question, how could this have happened if those writers had libertarian freedom? If for every word they wrote, they could have written otherwise, and God cannot control what they write. Every grammatical construction could have been otherwise, and God cannot...
Man, Bear, Pig, I'm Canadian. That's why I did the letter Kenny. The other day...
control what they write. I tell you, if they had libertarian freedom, and this is the Word of God, God got very...
let's see if I can find the right timestamp here. Here we go.
The problem of evil.
Problem of evil. Here we go.
The Arminian position claims...
By the way, if you're a Muslim listening, this applies to you too. There's no difference between you and a Christian. Muslims hate that. And yet I say it. Muslims hate the fact that they're no different to Christians when it comes to the problem of evil.
To solve this problem, at least in ways that are far superior to the Calvinist, the Arminian position, however, has this problem that is seldom recognized, and that is that when God creates this world, He knows everything that is going to happen.
Amen.
And He doesn't have to create. He knows all the evil that will be. He knows all the people who will suffer eternally in hell.
Preach it.
And yet, He freely chooses to create.
Hallelujah.
Those of you who are Arminian, do you understand that's part of your view?
Do you understand, you non-Calvinist Christians? Do you understand that that's what you believe? We're not putting words in your mouth. You have to believe this. You freely choose, and God knew what you would freely choose, and that God created it anyhow, knowing that you would really freely choose to murder, rape, steal, and that He freely chose to create, knowing that there be tsunamis and earthquakes, and people will die and suffer, and He saw it all coming way down the road. He could have chose not to create. He could have chose to stop it, even if He did create. And you believe this. And you have no choice but to believe it because you are who you are and who God made you to be. Man, I got to save the transcript of that little rant.
So your God, the Arminian God, is one who willingly, knowingly chooses to create a world in which people suffer eternally.
Yep.
If you hold to a traditional doctrine of hell, or at least undergo all of the torment.
And this is precisely why that some of you flag-waving phony Christians are starting to shy away from the traditional view of hell, because you know it's a huge, huge problem. And so now you're becoming these progressive, wimpy, feel-good Christians who say everybody goes to heaven, and we will all hold hands and sing, "Kumbaya, my Lord."
This life that happens. Now, so the Calvinist is not unique in having this problem. However, it is more severe for the Calvinist in this sense that we hold to a compatibilist view of freedom. And so the way a Calvinist...
Oh yes, Drizzy, I could make a ton of money if I hit the road as a preacher.
handles the problem of evil is by an appeal, first of all, to a version of the free will defense in which we acknowledge that people do things freely, that is according to what they most want to do, and God is able to regulate that, but He regulates what we do for good or evil in an asymmetrical way.
Yeah, asymmetric way. You know what he's saying here? He's saying, and I think he might explain this, is all the good things that happen in the world, God gets credit for, and all the bad things that happen in the world, it's human free choice. Well, most things, bad things. There's some catastrophes from nature, but that's still because of humans, because the earth groans. The earth groans because of humans in the fall.
He regulates good by incentives, by working within us to do good. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for God is the one at work in us. So good, God actively
What I
participates.
appreciate about this guy, you notice, no teleprompter, no notes. He's like me. He's using the Spirit inside him to preach what he truly believes and explain to people.
Participates in prompting and moving the good things, and He gets all the glory. For evil that happens, God works in a passive way in which He allows these things, passive allowance of evil to take place, which He has absolute control over.
Yeah, allows absolute control. It's a little bit of a tension there, right?
Yes, it's true. God could step in and intervene and turn the heart of the person a different way, and chooses not to. That's absolutely true. But what that indicates is God is in control of these things and hence allows them for purpose.
Doc Plurimonat says, Doug, we all know he's being fed information on the earpiece. You're right, Doc, you're right. In fact, Myron feeds me exactly what to say in my right ear. You think I can do this on my own? No. Myron is the brains of this operation.
Which brings about the second point. The greater good defense is another part of the arsenal for the Calvinist answer to the problem of evil. Obviously, God allows this for purposes that so far exceed what we can comprehend in this life. The best language that the Bible gives to it is for the glory of God. Romans 9, verses 22 to 24.
Yeah, I'm going to explain to Christians and Muslims, Jews, why this doesn't resonate with people like me. Like, there's definitely times where I've told my kids, because of time issues, just do what I say. But if my son or daughter were to come up to me and say, Dad, why did you allow this? Dad, why did you do this? I, sincerely would like to know. What's your reasoning process? What's your plan? As a father, I would try my best to explain it to my son. And as I said, sometimes you don't have time to do that. Like, Dad, why don't you want me to run after the soccer ball on the street? There's a car coming. Get back here now. I mean, you don't have time to explain. But there will always be a moment where you can explain these things. So a great response to if you're an atheist or a non-Christian, a non-Muslim, and you say, hey, the problem of evil is a real problem, and the person says, well, God might have morally sufficient reasons for every pain, every rape, every murder, every bad thing that happens in the world. His ways are beyond your ways. You can give this answer. You can say back, well, I would like to know before I commit. I would like to know exactly why God allowed that rape of my sister back in 1994 and this murder in 2003 and a few other things. And until God explains to me exactly what the greater good was here, I won't commit. I won't believe. I won't worship. I won't follow. I just would like to know. And if he doesn't tell me, then I guess I'll go to hell. If you answer that way to a Christian, they don't know what to do with that. They will just think, well, how selfish of you, or you can't demand of God to explain himself to you. Well, no, of course you can't demand it. But you can ask, and if he doesn't tell you, you can choose not to serve him based on him not answering. See, it always boils down to threat of something bad in the afterlife or reward of something good in the afterlife. And this is why people talk the way they talk. Don't demand things of God. Don't expect God to explain these things to you. But yet, as a father, as a mother, as a parent, you will explain these things to your children if they come to you with a sincere heart and really want to know your thought process, to maybe even learn from you, to understand you more. My kids will ask questions of me to help them understand me more. And I think that's very reasonable to ask this of God. God, help me understand you. But when the scriptures just say, shut up, you're a piece of clay, I'm the potter, how dare you? Where were you when I created the earth? Like, picture a real father saying that to his son who sincerely comes to him and asks for explanation. What would you think of that father? You'd call him a douche. Right? Christians?
One of the best places to go to see this statement of God's glory manifest. What about prayer and evangelism?
Nick Rostam asks, your wife is a Christian. How do you guys settle on how to explain these issues? Which issues? If my kids ask my wife questions, she will answer from the Christian evangelical point of view. When my kids ask me the same questions, I will answer from a naturalistic point of view. I can actually answer from both views. I think my wife could answer from both views as well, but I'm going to be a little egotistical here and say that I could answer on behalf of my wife pretty close, just as well as she could on her own behalf. But I think she would struggle more to answer from my worldview, my brain, because I've lived both and she hasn't. But for example, what is the question my kids have asked me? Why don't you believe in hell, Dad? Because there's no good reason to think there's a hell. And that there's many holy texts that have different versions of hell, different ideas of hell. And these are ideas that humans have come up with to help keep people within the in-group, within the religion. That's my answer to my kids. My wife's answer, why is there hell? Why do I believe there is a hell? My wife would answer, because Jesus taught it. And Jesus is God. And I trust Jesus. Those are the two answers. Then it's up to my kids to decide which answer is more reasonable. And even though I think my kids side with my answer more than my wife's right now, they still, because of their early years, because I was a Christian, and I think there's still humans in general, most humans are very risk adverse. There's still that little bit of fear, right? Well, what if mom's right? But great question. I do not recommend any naturalists, atheists, whatever, have children with a very religious person, because it makes life harder. My wife and I have managed to make it work, but I do agree with the Bible when it says do not be unequally yoked, because there's many fish in the sea. It's easier to be yoked. And when I say yoked, I'm not talking skin color. For those of you who don't know, my wife has beautiful dark skin and I have ugly white skin. I shouldn't say ugly. I shouldn't be this hard on myself. I have beautiful pasty skin that's subject to burning and moles and that sort of thing, freckles. So unequally yoked does not mean that you can't have interracial marriage. It means that life is indeed a little bit easier when you believe some of the same things. No, Donnie, my wife does not share the Apocalypse of Peter. Basically, like most evangelical Christians, the 66 books in the Bible are the real words of God, and anything outside the canon is not. There might be some truth in words outside the canon. I've asked my wife, Nick, to if she'd be interested in come in live streaming with me, and she said no. You are correct, Drizzy. I have no soul. Yeah, I golf every Monday or most Mondays, and even in wintertime, I have to use sunscreen. I don't have to, but I prefer no pain. I tell you, for those of you who are black, you don't know the struggles of the white man when it comes to sunburns. You have no empathy. See, my dog agrees with me.
Some people say, well, there's no point to it, to prayer and evangelism. But the point is this: God could evangelize the world without us. He doesn't need our prayers to help him out. He invites us to participate in his work. We become, by his choice, means to accomplish his ends. So prayer and evangelism are, in a Calvinist understanding, not only important but crucial and necessary, because they are, by God's design, the means by which he will fulfill his purposes. It's an
Okay, enough of that. Okay, the room's open. The link's on the top. All you have to do is click in. Yeah, there's Jehovah's Witnesses at the door. I'm sure of it. Actually, I live in a gated community, so we don't allow the riffraff in. Although I shouldn't call Jehovah's Witnesses riffraff, because I kind of like them. Jehovah's Witnesses is one of the few Christian cults that don't believe in hell, eternal conscious torment. And same with Mormonism, they don't. In a lot of ways, Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons have a huge advantage over evangelical Christianity, because they don't have that awful belief. It's nice to be melanated. Yes, Natasha. My kids, they're exactly in the middle of skin tone between my wife and I. They have beautiful skin. My daughter sometimes has said, you know, she's expressed in some way, you know, there's so many beautiful women out there. I mean, I can't compete. And I said, hey, just hang on until you're 30, 40 years old. And all these beautiful women that you think are beautiful, when they hit 40 and those wrinkles start to come and your skin is going to be immaculate, you can turn to them and scoff and laugh. You're 40 years old and you look 50. I'm 40 years old and look 25. Seriously, my wife probably looks 15 years younger than me. Natasha Wilson says, I'm not saying this. Natasha Wilson says, black don't crack. Yeah, that's the saying. Except Whitney. Well, that, Jerome. Thanks for making me laugh, Jerome. I wish Pine Point still existed. I'd give you some. Whitney Houston was an exception, yeah. Did she make it to 40? I don't think so. The room's open for theists. No, my wife, there's still, well, a few years back, someone came to the door, and my wife answered, and the person said, "Is your mom home?" And I think she was 35 at the time. I remember seeing your wife years ago. She looks like Rihanna. You saw my wife? I don't think she looks like Rihanna. Susan, I hope you don't think all black people look alike. That's just racist. I don't see color. I just see bald or not bald. Come on. Hey, you woke liberals, you laughed at that. You smiled. Admit it. You smiled. Theist, you can join. If you guys want to ask me questions, tag me, and then I can see it easier. I get asked if my daughter's my sister. Yeah, that's kind of weird, right? Do you think your wife would ever deconvert for Christianity? Asks Icy Pirate. No, I don't think she ever will, and I'm okay with that. It's another piece of advice I need to give atheists listening right now. You do not need to deconvert everybody. Mixed race people are the most beautiful, says Donnie H. Oh, well, I agree. If you really cared about racism and you want to get rid of it, if you want to be an anti-racist like me, procreate with someone of a completely different skin shade. And if you don't procreate with people of a different skin shade, I judge you as being a racist. Only the people who have had kids interracially, those are the true anti-racists. Do you think you'll ever become a Christian, Doug? Well, that is a great question, Jerome O'Meara. I can see myself becoming a Christian. Well, let me put it this way. I can see myself no longer being a naturalist. I can see myself having my worldview completely smashed. And here's the proof of that.
I might become a Christian right now on live stream if it works.
That'd be amazing.
Okay, go ahead and pray.
This is the most uncomfortable 1 minute on YouTube if you guys haven't seen it. But this is a marker that would smash my worldview on naturalism.
Doesn't have to be long.
It feels silly. It feels silly. And I think some of this.
It's what Elijah did.
No, I know. And I'll say this before I pray it. I'm just cognizant of that you have people watching, because I was going to ask you some questions, or getting more personal, but I don't want to go down that route. But
you can after you pray, yeah. and don't think like it can be like just 5 words.
No.
Now this is not the most uncomfortable 1 minute on YouTube because of my mustache. I know I set you guys up. Jamie, this is the best video on YouTube right now. Jamie. Nod your head. Okay, thank you. I see you nodding. But it's not because of the mustache. It's because you can tell that this Christian named David is really uncomfortable with having to pray.
Father God, thank you for Doug. Thank you for all the people watching this stream. I ask if it's in your will, by the power of your Spirit. And if you want to, light these matches on fire, Lord, as a sign of your love, your power, and your testament. Pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Now, if I was smart, I should have put at the end of this, please subscribe to see part 2 of this video. Because I ended it right here. I mean, that would have been brilliant. Yeah, I should make a poll. Should I bring the mustache back? Now, to be fair, this is a real mustache. This is my hair, but it is colored. It's just for men, which, don't judge me. Do not judge me for using just for men. It's not for women. Real women can't grow those beautiful mustaches. Should I bring back the mustache? And I'll do it. If it gets over 50%, I'll do it for you. I'll even go against my wife's wishes. Because you guys are my second wife. I'm a polygamous, I guess you would say. Oh, the yeses are winning on the early vote. PineCreek, if a trickster god told me how to get you to light the match, would that prove trickster god exists? Yeah. Well, it wouldn't prove it, but it would increase my confidence in the trickster god. The main point is, if it worked with an incantation to Jesus, but no other incantation to any other god, I do agree with the Christians that should increase your confidence that in the name of Jesus has some power. It does things, okay? So that increased my confidence in that. And I know atheists will say, well, you can't know for 100% certainty. I do not need 100% certainty to believe things. And if you do, then you might as well become precept Calvinist Christian, you atheists. Hillary's emails. I see your comment, and I got 2 words for you. Shut up. Oh my goodness. I really don't want to have to grow that mustache back, so I'm going to let the poll keep going, but I'll start today if it's over 50%. And we'll say, okay, we got how many people watching right now? 250. I need a quorum of at least 75%. What's the Senate do? Do they do 2/3, 66%? We have to get up to at least, I'll say 150 votes. 150 votes. If it's over 50%, I'll start today. Goatee? No. Well, actually, should I do the handlebars down here? If you just joined us, we're talking about deep philosophical and religious stuff about mustaches. Like if Jesus was on earth, I bet you he had a mustache like this. I think of Jesus, when he walked in the first century, he had cowboy boots. He had handlebar mustache. He probably had a mullet. In fact, Jesus, even though his skin shade was maybe a little darker, I think he looked Canadian. A mixture between Canadian and a little bit of Texan, with the handlebar mustache, the mullet. Or maybe like Baby Mario. Oh, we're at 50-50. Remember, I said a couple minutes ago, 150 votes. I think you can vote more than once. This is like American Idol. Was it Jamie who didn't like the mustache? Let's do it for Jamie. Let's teach Jamie a lesson of to accept the things that you cannot control. Lord, give me the serenity. Do a toothbrush mustache? Is that the same thing as a Hitler mustache? Hitler single-handedly destroyed the name Adolf for everyone. I was thinking about calling our firstborn Adolf. But my wife didn't want to do it. She said, I said, why? Why can't we call our son Adolf? Oh, right, Hitler. I don't know if you guys are history buffs, but I started reading about Hitler. And the more I read, the more I didn't care for the fella. He was a dirty dog. Oh no! The Heck No's are now winning. With 18 votes to go, 16 votes to go. Well, my dog is a German Shepherd, so Adolf would be a good name for a dog. 51-49. I mean, these last votes count. What if it's 50-50? If it's 50-50 at 150, we got to go to 200. Oh, now the yeses are winning. 8 votes to go. See, this is a good example of how every vote counts. 5 votes left. 4, 3, 2. I think the yeses have won already. Yes, 52-48. Okay, the mustache is coming back. I'll go to Fry's and buy some more Just for Men. Let's do this thing. For those of you who voted no, you can unsubscribe and never come back. Hey, Oak River, you should get some Theist for me. Start going on TikTok. Ah. Baked Alaska. Can you hear me, Alaska Baked? I can't hear you. Gearbox, top right. Make sure your mic is set. And then refresh if you need to. It's Mark. Mark is Alaska Baked. That guy replied to me, Doug will never change his mind. I won't go back on. Well, I will change my mind if you can light up that my matches or water soaked napkin. That'd be a great start. I have no hair dye on right now. I sometimes do sideburns with Just for Men. Oh, Jamie. Okay, I was just picking on you because you're so pickable. That's right. The dude praying was awkward. I felt a little awkward too. Baked Alaska, I can't hear you. You know what a gearbox is? That little looks like a flower on the top right. Click on that. Then make sure your microphone is set to what you really use for a microphone. And then hit refresh. You can try tapping in the chat to let me know you're even here. In the whereby chat. You left. There was a Baked Alaska streamer who got in trouble over January 6th. Really? We got to think of a porn name for Doug to go with the mustache. Don't you use like the street you were born on and your dog's first name? Oh yeah, I think my first dog's name was Bruno, and I was raised on a highway called 34. So my porn name would be Bruno 34. Ching chicka bow wow. I kind of like that. Bruno 34, aka PineCreek. coming to you live with purple shag and red velvet on the wall. Putting his 8 tracks of music in for your listening pleasure. But whatever happens, no matter what comes off, the hat and the mustache stays on. Okay, let's try again, Baked Alaska. Still can't hear you. Should be using Chrome. If you're on your phone, set your permissions if they ask for it. Other than that, I don't know what to tell you. Well, I can tell you this. If you can't figure out how to get your mic to work, your IQ might be a little too low to talk with me. I'm not judging you. Like, it's not your fault that you're stupid. I am so mean. And the thing is, I just had a conversation with a female version of me. She came on my show on the PineCreek Politics channel. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't subscribed, it's a beautiful channel where it's just nothing but loves and hugs and kisses. And a woman who said she looks just like me, except female, came on. And you guys can judge for yourself. And we talked about how I can improve in being more understanding, choose my words more carefully. So I apologize, Baked Alaska, for calling you stupid. I'm not saying what I said was wrong. I'm just saying I apologize for saying the truth out loud. Do you think there's a fundamental reality which everything depends on, i.e. initial singularity, non-theistic monism, Platonic ones? Yeah, I do. I think I am a foundationalist. Hi all, has Doug offended a demographic yet? David Friskin, the real question is, have I not? It's a beautiful channel where you instigate. No, I don't. I'm not an instigator. I'm a lover. So if you're a theist of any sort, feel free to call in. You know the Holy Spirit is prompting you right now, or whatever spirit you believe in. And by denying that prompting, you are sinning. There we go. You figured it out.
I did.
Good for you.
Had to, the brain cells are on life support on Friday, so I needed a couple tries.
So what was the problem?
So what I was trying to do was just have my mic on without the camera. Trying to go incognito mode. I don't think you could do that on a phone.
Okay.
You see the lovely view outside my apartment?
So you are in, let's see if I can guess the city. It looks like Chicago-ish.
Close.
Detroit-ish?
No, it's on one of the coasts.
Oh. Close to Chicago, but on a coast.
Yeah, I mean close. I meant close when you guessed Chicago because it's kind of.
It's not New York, is it?
It is New York. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, man. For better or worse.
And are you a theist?
I am.
Okay, what kind?
Well, I was raised Christian, and so I kind of default to that. I mean, to me, there's more evidence for Christianity, but I don't really go to church that often. Something I'd kind of need to.
So you're a bad Christian.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, what can I do to help you become a better Christian? Is there anything I can help you with?
Well, I don't know. To be honest with you, I started watching your channel only like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So I'm not fully, but I do enjoy your shows. I mean, you're a funny guy, and I watched some of your guests come on, but you're an atheist, right?
Yeah, I'm an atheist.
Yeah. So you were speaking in jest.
What do you think? Well, no, I probably could help you become a better Christian, even as an atheist.
True.
I've been told I've raised the faith in many Christians because of my channel. In fact, I've been told
Really?
I'm doing the Lord's work.
The irony.
The irony, yeah.
So something that I had thought of today. I don't know if you've been watching the Alex Murdoch trial at all.
Oh, I am starting to believe in God, because you know what I was doing just before I went live?
What?
I was watching the live feed of the Murdoch. Is it Murdoch?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I watched.
Pretty funny.
I watched all 3 episodes on Netflix last night. Got so interested in it. Now I'm starting to watch the actual trial.
Yeah. I didn't see that documentary. How was the documentary?
Oh, it was really good. I don't know how they got away with making it without, like, it's obvious they didn't get permission, but but maybe they don't need it. But this guy is clever.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. I didn't watch the documentary, so I'm somewhat limited in not knowing some of the things that are kind of on the periphery that haven't come in into the trial, and I know that definitely like shades people's opinion.
What's your intuition say? Is he guilty of killing his wife, son, housekeeper?
My intuition is no.
Really?
Yeah, and that's actually kind of the point I was going to make and try to tie it into the religious, the atheist theist sort of topic, because so there's a few different channels. So like Long Crime, like I think has the feed, and then there's a few different streamers who've been playing the trial, and they do commentary. There's kind of like a little niche, little law tube community, they kind of call themselves, and they're lawyers with different backgrounds, and had like they did the Amber Heard trial and the other guy, Rittenhouse, and they get a lot of viewers, so they kind of been doing it. And what's been interesting with this trial, whereas with like something like the Amber Heard trial, where I think almost the vast majority of people thought we're more in Johnny Depp's camp. With this trial, what I've noticed is that depending on which channel you go to, it's totally skewed what the viewers are thinking about his guilt. Because like a lot of times they'll put like polls in the chat, and the poll results are so heavily skewed depending on what channel you're watching. And I just thought it was really interesting because I think you could be totally rational in that type of case because there's no direct evidence. There's only circumstantial evidence. And he lied to the police. Yeah. But they don't really have like a strong motive. So without a strong motive, like you kind of want there to be something more direct, like implicating him. But I think you could be completely rational and come out on different sides, and it's just really interesting because like sometimes
I see what you're doing here. You're saying that just like you can be rational and come to 2 different conclusions on a murder case, the same can be done for theism.
Exactly. And I was curious, do you agree with that?
Yes, but if you get to specific theism, where you can actually find things that are either contradictory or near contradictory, and you're aware of them, then I would say no. So for example, let's say you believed in a specific God that says X, and then says I can do X, and then says I can't do X. He's contradicting himself. This God is either a liar or doesn't exist. And if he says he's not a liar and yet lies, then this God either doesn't exist or is a liar and not to be trusted or worshipped. So in other words, I think you know what I'm getting at. That yeah. So if you have, I think the problem of evil, the real problem of evil, destroys the Abrahamic, Judaic, Christian God.
Right. Yeah. I think I caught one of your streams when you were discussing that. And I thought you brought up an interesting point, which, I tend to find you actually very like intellectually honest, which, to me like means a lot because, it's very easy to kind of sort of self-deceive yourself, and then when you're talking to other people, it tends to just come out. But the thing that I remember you saying was, you kind of posed a question, like, in discussing the problem of evil, you mentioned, like, why did God even have to bother creating?
Yeah. Hey, Baked Alaska, some people are like, Mr. Deity's listening and he has a very weak stomach, and so he's feeling nauseous. So can you put your phone down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sorry about that.
I know you're not nervous or anything, and I know it's just purely,
Oh, it's shaking around.
Or are you detoxing right now?
No, I didn't realize it was. My hands shake. People told me that my whole life.
And you're a neurosurgeon by profession, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's much better. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So now Mr. D can stop eating those crackers.
Sorry
and
about
drinking
that.
Sprite. Okay, where were we?
Oh yeah. So you were talking to someone about the problem of evil, and you kind of posed like the question about why God, that he didn't even have to bother creating anything, and by not, if he took the route of not creating, there would be no suffering. And I think you were kind of suggesting that is preferable to what the situation is now. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would even go further to say that the fact that this world exists is evidence against that God existing.
Because there's evil in the world.
Not just evil or bad things, but from this God's perspective, sin. Like, this God created knowing with 100% certainty, if you believe in omniscience, that it would lead to something that he absolutely hates and does not want. So he wanted to create, did not want sin. He wanted to create something that would lead to sin that he knew with 100% certainty, and he does not want sin. So to me, that's pretty close to a contradiction. Want, not want.
I would agree, but I think it's not static in the sense that I think where we have the potential to be moving towards a world where there's less and less sin, and potentially we could almost, like, if you watch science fiction and things like that, you can envision a future
but
where...
that's irrelevant because, well, let me ask you this. Do you think God's okay with just a tiny, tiny little bit of sin?
Yeah, I think it's like he's willing to accept the sin for the good that we have.
Okay, yeah. See, this is where a lot of Christians might disagree with you. But if you say that God is actually okay with sin because of some greater good argument, that's a tough pill to swallow, because God's pretty clear and adamant that you have to be perfect in order to go to heaven, and that's why he had to have a perfect sacrifice, right, of Jesus.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, I don't see how they could take any other position, because there is sin in the world, and he's allowed it.
Yes, but now you're working backwards. You're saying, well, we do have sin, and this God does exist, so my answer has to be right. But here's another way you can look at it. Your God doesn't exist. Problem solved.
True. No, I'd agree with that. The thing I have with that is just the lack of explanation for existence, and it not that posing it. I don't think posing a God like solves it, puts like a neat bow on it, but because it does in one sense kind of like like push the problem back like one level, and then you're kind of left wondering like where the God came from. But I guess the issue is either the universe is necessary or God is necessary. And it seems like, metaphysically speaking, almost easier to accept the concept of something like a God being necessary, because why would the universe be
very
necessary?
good, Baked Alaska. You're probably one of the first theists I've heard articulate kind of my worldview, understand it, and basically admit one's easier to accept for you than the other. And you know what?
Yeah.
I get it. I understand it. And I wouldn't try to convince you out of it.
No, I mean, likewise. I mean, this goes back to the Alex Murdoch trial. Like,
I don't want to talk about that trial anymore, but can I ask you this?
yeah.
One advantage my worldview has over yours is I'm not proposing a new category of existence, like this thing called spiritualness or soulness or some type of intangible existence that exists outside of time and space, which I don't even quite comprehend how that's possible. All I'm saying is the cosmos is necessary. You're saying God is necessary, but you and I share in the idea that I think that matter is real. This type of existence is real, but we really don't have a good definition or even demonstrable evidence that this category of existence that you're proposing is even real.
We don't, other than abductive arguments and abductive reasoning. But yeah, I would no.
So if both explanations can explain it like this through necessity, then why go with the God one?
I think only because when you're looking at the idea of like the universe being necessary, I think there's problems with that. And maybe one day I'll get to that point.
Problems with it that your God doesn't have, or unique problems?
I think unique, like sort of from like a physics perspective, like we could imagine like it's very easy to imagine like the constants of nature being different, and like it's very hard to kind of understand like why this particular universe is the only necessary universe.
Oh, well, my worldview doesn't say that. My worldview says that this universe has the laws it has, but there might be another universe. I have no, I can't demonstrate that. But I would say, that you have the same problem of, like you said, the physical constants of this universe is what it is. You can imagine your God being different than it is, right?
I'm not sure if I could imagine a different God, because it's like, as I understand it, it's usually defined as like the greatest conceivable being, and so it seems like.
But the greatest conceivable being could be one that is the greatest at evil.
No, that's true. No, I would agree with that. Yeah, it could. You're right. It could. I guess it could. In like conceptually, it could be a different God.
So imagine all the attributes that you currently believe about God, and just imagine the opposite, and you could still think, okay, here's the God. It still exists.
Yeah. Yes, you could. I think you're right. I haven't fully explored that idea, but yes, from what I envision, I think I think the difficulty with that is trying to understand why an evil God would allow good to exist.
Are you famous or something? Because people know who you are in my live stream chat, and I don't.
No, it's funny. I come across that all the time. When I picked the name Baked Alaska, it was just because that's like that ice cream wrapped in sponge cake. It's like one of my favorite desserts. But there's another streamer. I didn't even know about the guy, unfortunately.
Okay, so you're not the real Baked Alaska.
I'm not him.
You're a forgery.
Yeah, total fake. Yeah, no, I'm not that.
So can I ask you like some specific questions? What you currently believe?
Yeah. Oh shit. You know what? My phone has 1%. I'm gonna grab the charger and hope it doesn't.
Okay, grab the charger before
give me 1 second.
You die. Yeah, I need a philosophy point. Necessity, although not great at giving comfort, is a suitable explanation, I think, for the existence of the universe.
All right, I'm plugged in.
Okay. So do you consider yourself a Christian?
Yes.
Do you believe that there was a man named Jesus who walked the earth in the first century?
Yes.
And that this man was also God in flesh?
Correct.
And do you believe this man in flesh was killed by the Romans, was dead for a weekend, and then came back to life?
I do.
And do you believe the Bible is this God's word?
Yes.
And do you believe it all started with God creating the heavens and the earth and placing two people in a garden?
Whether that, up until recently, I always looked at that as a metaphor, and then I've come across some apologetics who are putting out the theory that it was possible that Adam existed like many hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Okay,
so
you take like the William Lane Craig view that evolution is true and the moral of the story of Genesis 1 and 2 is true.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. And do you believe there was a man named Noah who built an ark?
I don't think I've never considered that to be a literal story. I don't know a ton about it. I find that a little bit conflicting with the science.
Okay, and do you think there were people back 3,000 years ago who called themselves prophets, or other people did, and prophesied about Jesus?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay. And do you you think that's reasonable? Interesting word to use. Do you believe that Jesus walked on water?
I think he could have, because if God exists.
I didn't ask what you.
I mean, I have no reason to disbelieve it because it's such a famous story that.
I think I have a good idea what type of Christian you are, but when you say things like, "I don't have good reason to disbelieve it," is that what you just said?
Yeah, because I haven't closely looked at I to be honest with you, I've only read like small excerpts of the Bible, so I'm not. I'm just not like really read up on the biblical stories and scripture.
So if a person in history makes the claim, "I am God," is it reasonable to believe it?
Not on its own.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
You would need, yeah.
Good. On its own, it's not reasonable to believe it. So if a person in history claims to be God and claims to do miracles like walking on water, and it's all written down, is it reasonable to believe it?
On its own, I mean, you would need you would need a broad historical context to evaluate the claim, I think.
Okay, let's say the broad historical context. I'm not talking about Jesus now. I'm talking about a person. So the broad historical context is that there was religions and cultures that predate this man. This man used some of those ideas from religions that predate him, said he was God, said he even was a fulfillment of some prophecies of these religions that predate him, says authors write this down, that he makes these claims of being God and does these miracles. Is it reasonable to believe it given that context?
I would be skeptical of something like that.
So are you skeptical of Christianity then?
I am skeptical of it. I mean, I think. Okay,
good. So
yeah,
when I asked you those speed round type questions and you answered yes to a lot of them, how, like, compared to you believing your confidence that you and I are having this conversation right now, let's say that's 100%.
Right.
Where do you place your confidence in Jesus actually being God, rising from the dead?
Well, with those speed round questions, I think the answers range from somewhere like in the mid 50s to maybe higher when it comes to Jesus rising from the dead, because that's such a. I mean, that's the entire.
Okay, let's take Jesus being God and rising from the dead. 100% as you and I being real and talking to each other. Where do you place that as your confidence? Are you just as confident?
No. I would say like maybe. To be honest with you, it's a good question, but I would say maybe like 65% or something.
65%. Okay.
65 with a 6, yeah.
And why aren't you at 100 like we are talking right now?
Because I haven't studied the historicity of it all. That's the main reason. I mean, I used to, like, up until maybe like 3 years ago, like I didn't like really, I wasn't certain that God existed. I was more sort of in the middle of the road, or agnostic. So this is really something like just over the past couple of years that I've come to hold these views, and so I need to really put a lot more work into it.
Okay, what do you think you could learn from the historicity of it to raise you from 65 up to 100?
I don't know if I could ever get up to 100, but I would. I want to learn more about the eyewitness accounts, the stories of the apostles, um, uh, maybe some of like the interpretive methods that are used to compare religions and try to derive the truth or falsity thereof.
Well, let me put it this way. Like, the reason why I'm curious about you wanting to study more of the history of it is,
Yeah.
if someone today came up to you and made a claim that they saw someone walk on water, and you even know this person and trust them, you then haven't known them to like make serious lies before, about big stuff at least, would you believe them?
No, I would not believe somebody who told me that. No.
Okay, so even if we had eyewitness claims in the New Testament, which we don't, other than Paul, depending on how you define
Right.
eyewitness,
Right.
how would that get you even 1% higher than 65? If you wouldn't believe someone today?
Well, there's I think part of it is from what, and again, I'm not very, very well read on this stuff, but that there's there's the empty tomb, and there's the fact that people had experiences of Jesus, after his crucifixion, and there, again, I don't know, how much warrant to put into these stories until I look at them closer. But
Like,
from what
I don't believe there was an empty tomb, but even if I were to grant it, what would be an explanation for Jesus placed in a tomb and then a couple of days later it being empty? What would be an explanation that you would say is reasonable? A, that he rose from the dead, or B, the body was stolen?
I think it would be B.
Right. I agree with you.
Yeah. Which I think is what the Jewish leaders were saying at the time. But is that, I guess, is that plausible that they did that and then still, like, if they stole the body, why would they then be willing to be martyred basically for his belief in the fact that he rose from the dead?
Yeah. Well, in order to be martyred for something, for it to have real value or meaning, you need to really establish that the person really saw what they saw firsthand. Otherwise, it's like a 9/11 hijacker type situation, right? You understand what?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the 9/11 hijackers never saw Muhammad in a cave talking to Gabriel. They just believe it. So do we have any evidence that these people actually saw what they saw, claimed to see what they saw, and then did they have a chance to recant? Either you recanted this or we're going to kill you. Do you realize that we actually don't have that?
So I get your point about the recanting, but what I meant was that if the explanation is that they stole the body, then it would, there seems to be like that story doesn't seem to really line up, because if the theory is like they knew he was crucified and then stole the body, then why would they later write the gospel?
Ah, very good. Why would they write the Gospels if it was a lie?
Yeah.
Is basically what you're asking.
Yeah.
Do you think Islam is true?
No, I don't.
Why would they write the Quran if it's not true?
Well, I think there's likely a theory for that, which is like it was probably drafted by committee. Like, there's really the historicity of Muhammad is highly questionable.
Well, I don't think I think there's a lot of people most people say that Muhammad really lived in history.
No, they did. You're right. I mean, through the standard, but because they passed down, it was all oral tradition.
Okay, good. So you're talking about the Quran. You're talking about it was written by community. It's oral tradition, but you still believe it's false. The core, at least the core stuff.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go back to your original question about how could they write the New Testament, the Gospels, if it wasn't true? Well, maybe it was written by community, oral tradition. Maybe some of it, there's some elements of truth to it, but they expanded upon it. Maybe they did purposely lie. What would be let's imagine for a second that it is purposeful lies. Why would they do that?
You're talking about in the gospel.
Yeah, so let's say Jesus never ever did any of the miracles, never rose from the dead, yet we got gospel authors writing that he did. Why would they do that? Let's say they even knew it was false, but still wrote it.
Right. The only conceivable reason I could come up with, and I think this is the case in Islam, is like power. The people wanted a means of having power in their society.
Yes, that's one explanation. Power is to try to get people to give them money for this new religion,
right?
Even some fame. Another explanation is that there's parts of it that they really truly did believe, and this is my theory. My theory is that they really believed that a God existed, Yahweh, and B, that the kingdom of God was near. The context is you got some really sad Jews. They're being oppressed by the Romans. They got all these Old Testament texts that says that the Messiah will come and rule the day and stop this oppression. And this man named Jesus comes. He lived. He died. They kind of have to make sense of this, but they really do think that heaven's coming soon, and they truly want people to accept this idea that they can be saved in this life from all this oppression. And what a better way to do that than lie and tell people that it's true, even if it's not, because it at least gets them saved into the kingdom of heaven. So think about this. I know a lot of Christians are listening right now and they'd say, Doug, this is stupid what you're saying. But think about in Nazi Germany, how people purposely lie to save Jews.
Right.
You know?
Who was lying?
Like let's say other Germans or Europeans.
Oh, right, right.
The Nazis come to the door. Do you have any Jews in your house? And they say no. Like you've seen the first scene of Inglourious Bastards, right?
No, I haven't. I heard that's a great movie.
Oh, you got to see it's one of the best scenes in a movie history. And that would be a noble lie, right? Because you're saving these Jews. Well,
right.
I think one could posit that this is what the New Testament authors were doing. They were saving Jews by lying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a rational explanation. Like sort of.
That's what I do here is rational explanations.
By the way, on Netflix, there's a show called Hitler's Circle of Evil. I don't know if you've seen it, but I know a little while ago you were talking about World War II.
You know, the more I learn about Hitler, the more I don't care for the guy.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting about this? That's funny. That went right over my head when you first said it. What's cool about that show is just like they show like how it's not shown from like Hitler's perspective. It's the ring around him, like, and how it all kind of came to be, almost like the history kind of conspired. The events kind of conspired for all that to happen, which is mind-boggling in a way.
But I don't want to get off track. Like, this is all about you right now because I care about you. I don't. You're a stranger to me, but I'll pretend. I'll pretend to care about you here. Are you still at 65%?
You mean no? I mean, I think you raised some good things for me to think about. I'm like I have to kind of absorb it, and yeah. I mean, I'm like by nature a skeptic, and so that's why I like calling in to speak to atheists because
Okay, but that doesn't compute to me. If by nature you're a skeptic, why do you believe Jesus was God and rose from the dead? Why are you at 65?
there's a danger with taking skepticism too far. Like let's take like Holocaust deniers, right? Like one of the things they do is they look at every single piece of evidence in a vacuum and fail to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. And I feel like that's the danger with.
Okay, let's talk about this. I think this is going to be really good. Do you believe the Holocaust happened?
Yeah,
Why?
because there's so many different. It was an historical event that is widely attested.
But why do you
to
believe it?
so many-
Okay, widely attested. What do you mean?
So there was a war fought over it, and we know like through our documented history like why that war happened and what
Well, wars.
Hitler was.
There's been many wars without Holocausts per se.
No, that's true.
Like,
Fair
why do you
enough.
believe the Holocaust happened?
I guess because we know like through historical accounts like what was happening inside of pre-war Nazi Germany and how.
Like, be more specific.
anti-Semitism-
How do we know?
How do we know? Because there's documentation.
That's it? No, we got way more than that, don't we?
Oh, you mean like all the dead people?
We got actual skeletons in gravesites.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, we, until recently, I think maybe a decade or two ago, the last Holocaust survivor, I don't know, I could be wrong. There could still be Holocaust survivors still alive today who could tell you
there may be. You're right.
that we could hook up polygraphs to and actually ask them questions.
But but see, that's a good example because like let's say somebody was still alive, like all they're going to be able to testify to is like one concentration camp or something,
Right?
And, like to get the full perspective, like you
Right.
really need to zoom out.
Listen to this. Let's say you interview, let's say the year's 1990, and you interview an elderly Holocaust survivor, and you ask them a question. Did you see any concentration camps, or were you in one? And they go, yes, I was in this one. It's located here. I was in cell 44B. And if you go into that cell, you'll see certain scratch marks on the floor. And you can actually go find that camp, find the cell. And that's pretty good verifiable evidence for an eyewitness account. Do we have anything like that for the Gospels and Jesus?
No, there's nothing like that.
Okay, there's nothing like that. So your confidence should be way lower for Jesus than for the Holocaust, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
But you're still way over 50%, and this is what's confusing me. Like, what do you have to get to 65? We don't have any eyewitness accounts other than a guy named Paul.
Yeah. No, so because I believe like if you start off without a belief, like sort of a generic theism, and then you like try to come to terms with Christianity, it's really, I think you're probably never going to get there. But if you start out with the idea like there is a God, and if you feel that inside, now maybe that's just evolution, and it's something that we feel that maybe is not indicative of anything true. But when that's like your starting point, then like you almost back door your way into like a religion.
Okay, good point. But let me ask you this. Could a God create the universe? Could a God exist, or even many gods, and yet Christianity still be false?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm asking you, why are you 65% confident that it's true? And I'm going to give you for free, no cost to you, that a creator God exists. You can have it. That doesn't mean Christianity is true.
And I'll give you what I think is if I psychoanalyze myself, I don't think this is a good reason, but the reason I think it is because there's people that the people that I otherwise would seem to respect, that who have appeared to have given it much more thought than I have, and I'm somewhat deferring to their judgment.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying there's people that you respect and trust who are smart, who have looked into it and have concluded it's true.
Yes.
Okay. Do
Yeah,
you
I think
think this
that's how.
happens in other religions that you deem
Oh
false?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
imagine Baked Alaska, the Muslim version, who really hasn't studied Islam that much, but knows some imams, knows some scholars who they trust, respect, and they say Islam is true. What would you think of the Baked Alaskan Muslim? Was
I think they're totally misguided.
okay, why are you not totally misguided then as the
I mean, in other words, like I don't mean that in a disparaging way. I just like, for example, like when I'm in the city and I get into a taxi cab, like I always talk to the driver and I'll ask him like, do you believe in God? And we have these conversations, and like while we're talking, I'm thinking to myself like if he's Muslim, for example, I try to raise questions to him to be like, for example, the Quran says the crucifixion never happened, and we know that Jesus was crucified. So there's a part of me that kind of like realizes that the person is mistaken, but ultimately I share their, I guess, perspective that there is a God. So from that point of view, I don't think they're wrong, but I just think they kind of came down on it. They picked the wrong religion, I guess, for lack of better terms. I mean, ultimately, from a practical perspective, if you're a theist and you think God exists, like, what choices do you really have?
what choices do you
You can
have?
invent your own religion.
You're breaking up on me a little bit, Sue. I don't know if you've got a bad internet. Your choices are to say that another religion is true, or you could say that no religions are true and still be some type of general theist or a deist. Like, I think if you're going to be a theist, if you're going to believe a God exists, I think it's the most rational thing you can do is say all religions of the world are false, and that this God really is not an interventionalist type God. He just started the ball rolling. It gives you some explanation of why we exist. It gives you explanation of some type of grounding for morality. You can get a lot of great things out of this belief without believing of the nonsense with all these specific religions. You're muted right now. You have to unmute yourself. So you want me to lead you through a prayer of deconversion? If you deconvert today, you'll get $20 Applebee's gift card. But you will have to send me your address, your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and your first pet dog's name. And then you can get your Applebee's gift card. I don't know what happened, but I can't hear you, and you're muted. Oh, there you go.
Oh, I can hear you now. Oh no. If you deconvert today, you'll get.
I'm starting to think Satan is real because he's interfering with our conversation. Or no, it's maybe God. God doesn't want you to talk to me any longer. His Holy Spirit's blocking the Wi-Fi waves. My dog's name is PineCreek, says Chris.
Let me just come back and I'll log.
Yeah, refresh,
Back in.
and we'll wrap this up in a bow.
I'll be fine.
Leakum, don't be a sexist. Don't call him a little girly man. This is not SNL from the 80s. I'm Hans, this is Franz, and we're here to pump you up. I forget exactly how they did it. That's where the phrase girly man came from. If you know what I'm talking about, you're over 40 years old, definitely, and probably over 50. Pray for me, Doug, that I don't convert to Christianity. Even if he doesn't come back, we had a good conversation. It was fun while it lasted. The room's open for anybody else. I have no plans, but in probably 53 minutes or less, I will be taking my family, my beautiful wife, beautiful daughter, beautiful son, to the Outback Steakhouse, where we will gnash our teeth on chicken and steak, shrimp, baked potato, asparagus, broccoli, Caesar salad, and thunder from down under. Oh, you're 35 and you know what I'm talking about. Good for you. No bloomin' onion. Yeah, I think I'm going to grow the mustache like you guys said I should. And I'm going to lose, I probably still need to lose 20 pounds. I want to have that skinny cowboy look. I want to have that skinny cowboy. You know those cowboys that were so skinny that just constantly smoked? I'm not going to smoke. I'll keep chewing my nicotine gum, but I think the skinny, wrinkly, manly cowboy look is in. I never sit at the bar in full service restaurants because I think you get better service outside the bar. Bartenders tend not to be good servers. Yes, exactly, Mr. Deity. It's a tradition in my family to take the kids out once a week. If they want to go out with their friends, I say no. Once a week, it's family time. I am a Mormon atheist. I believe in deep family values, where someday when we all die, we each get our own planet. No, I have my planet. And me and my wives and kids can live on it. That's better. Make sure you turn off the YouTube and just leave the whereby open. Let's see if this is better. Your YouTube's still open. You got to close it.
Still staticky, right?
Yeah, it is. Are you trying to use a mic?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. Just use your phone.
How do I do that?
Well, were you doing it before? Using like a earphone mic?
No, I think I was just like, I think it's like doing it through my speaker phone because I have the battery plugged in.
Yeah.
Let me see if I have one of these headphones actually that. Hold on, let me grab those. I've now shamed myself by showing how disgusting my apartment is.
I don't even remember what we were talking about. Anybody remember the live stream chat where we ended? Oh yeah, you got a God, but Christianity is false. So where does that leave you?
All right, I'm gonna get out these headphones.
Mr. Didi, I remember the days, the year 2012, we met. I don't know if you realize this. You want me to show you a picture? I think it was 2012. We met at TAM, the amazing meeting in Vegas. You and your then wife, Lucy. I can show you a picture. And I think you were 20 pounds heavier there. And I was probably 20 pounds lighter. We switched places, maybe. How do you find pictures on YouTube easily? And I bet you're 185 in that picture, and I'm probably 185 right now. So we just switched. Looks like I'm a little taller than you.
Oh, one second. All right, let me refresh.
Okay, we'll try one
See
more
if
time.
maybe we'll get. Okay, try one more time.
No, that's not S.J. Thompson, but I can see how Amy kind of looks like her. Yeah, in that picture, this is 2013. I was probably just a year or two an atheist. I still felt very uncomfortable being around atheists back then. And the reason why I was comfortable with you, Mr. Deity, is because of your humor. And but the serious atheists who had no sense of humor, I did not want to be around.
All right, man.
Yeah, it's still bad. But you know, Baked Alaska, it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed having you on. And maybe we can do it again sometime, okay?
All right, dude.
Okay, take care.
It was good talking. I'll dial in another day.
Okay. And I bet you, if you're an atheist listening and you like have been an atheist for less than a year or two, you probably still feel very uncomfortable with some of the things I say and what other atheists type in this live stream chat. You're going, oof, no, don't say that. And I get that. And I have to remind myself to be more sensitive. You guys know I'm an extremely sensitive guy, but I myself even have to be more sensitive to people who are fresh. If you've been an atheist all your life, or like a decade or more, I hope this helps you to remind you that there's people who still have the baggage, still have the memories, still have a lot of things they're working through. And when you say stuff like Yahweh is a schmuck, which I often say, it's still, there's a gut reaction that's negative for some atheists who are freshly minted atheists. You know that new atheist smell? I love it. I love the new atheist smell. But you have to be careful. You don't want to spill anything on that new atheist drug. New atheists are like rich Corinthian leather. I still don't want to be around serious atheists. Yeah, exactly, Mr. Deity. Like the type of atheists who just constantly feel the need to push back, can't give an inch, are not willing to give anything. I mean, you guys are just not fun to be around. And I think you have the most productive conversations when you let people know, hey, stay the way you are. It's fine. But can I ask you some questions? You can ask me questions. We can have some gay intercourse, happy conversations. Actually, no, you can't say that. I still remember during Blab Days, I titled one of my live streams Gay Intercourse. And I had all these, I said, no, let's talk about gay intercourse. And I had all these homosexual men come on to my show. They were so excited. And I said, no, I want to have a happy conversation. No, you get the wrong idea. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but. Yeah, after 6 years, you lose the atheist smell, the fresh smell. I think it took me just 2 or 3 months to really totally get out of all my fear stage of, oh, maybe I made a mistake and I'm going to hell. That only lasts maybe a month or two. It probably took me a year or two to get out of the whole atheist says something provocative, and I feel like some angst. Like, oh, and get this. It took me probably 2 years to get over atheist swearing. I know this sounds silly, and I know most of you cannot relate. But when atheists swear, it doesn't bother me now, but back then it did. Now I just laugh because I can't swear. You have to pay me money or force me or dare me. I mean, I cannot swear. But I love it when atheists do, because it's just like, how do you do that? It just rolls off your tongue. That's amazing. Mr. Deity's the Benjamin Button. Okay, if there's no more theists, this is your last call. Remember, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I have no fear of the dark, monster, scary movies. You know what? That's one of the perks of becoming a naturalist or an atheist is you don't get scared when you hear bumps in the night, creaks in the night. I mean, you just, oh, that's the wind. And you go back to sleep. I tell you, if Satan is real, he's been really bad at trying to scare me the last decade. Like the preacher here in the live stream chat, he believes Satan's real. He gets scared at night. He won't admit it, but there's times he's scared. That's okay. Oh, I can say I can say shit. See, my wife is just on the other side of that door, and she does not like that word. She does not like it at all. And so I can say it, but I can't say it loudly. And I can even say the F word, like freak. It's tough. Or frick. It's tough, but I can do it. Yes, I have said the F word on my channel before, and I got paid, I think, $250 to do it. And I gave it all to charity, the PineCreek Foundation for Outback Meals. Still haven't been to Walmart to buy my gun. Guess who wants in? Because of you guys, the preacher wants in. What do you want, preacher man?
Knew you were gonna do it. How come, man? It's not. There's like How you been, Doug?
I've been really good. You know I'm an American citizen now.
I didn't know that you weren't.
Oh yeah, I was a Canadian. Well, still
Well,
am
now
technically.
you're a Roman. Congratulations.
Yeah. So it's I'm very
Now
proud.
you're a Roman. No, there's good benefits to being a Roman.
A Roman
Yeah,
more than being an American.
it's the same thing. Same system of government, dude. I promise. Same. Paul, dude. When he was going to it, and they were getting ready to put him to death, and he's like, "No, I appeal to Caesar." Like, there's good benefits to being a Roman.
But being American is still different than being a Roman.
I don't think so.
Well, one's in Rome.
Well, in Rome, you actually get to go watch people kill each other. Here in America, they go by sissy rules.
Well, you want to watch
Football.
people kill each other?
Who doesn't?
No. I had such a good stream going.
No, it just got good. It just got good. Who doesn't? You know?
Well, no, I don't.
Really?
Like, you remember the Iraq War?
Oh, so hang on. So you don't watch?
No, I have.
You know,
I have watched some gruesome stuff that's not
Right.
just movies but
And
real.
when you see something, yeah, real.
Yeah,
That's where it's at. So when you see something online and you're like, oh man, and it's like person gets mangled in car accident, you're like, oh yeah, I just gotta go take a peek.
Well, okay, you're right in the sense that there's this morbid curiosity in us,
Of course,
mammals, to see something that we don't see very
kill each
often.
other. Yeah,
Yeah, that's because we're
Oh,
like
yeah.
chimpanzees.
exactly. No, that's the Bible even goes along with that. Yeah, we are beasts. Ecclesiastes 5:18, Doug.
But you would say we're
Come on.
special beasts.
No, we're the same.
Well, now you're talking.
I've been trying to tell you.
You're
I missed you though. How you been?
good.
You all right?
You're a weird guy. You know that?
I just saw a video where you used to have a mustache. Where the hell did that thing go?
I shaved it down the sink. You want? But
Yeah,
I'm
but
bringing
how
it
long
back
ago?
starting tomorrow. Or starting right now.
How long ago? I know, because I wanted to come up here and call you Mein Führer, but I couldn't.
I think that video was. I don't know. Years ago. Maybe 2.
Well, you just posted like a short of it yesterday or something.
Yeah, but my subscribers often remind me of great moments in PineCreek history, and then sometimes I make a short out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just saw it and you destroyed that guy. You're like, fucking make the matches light. And I'm
Well, what would you do if I did that to you?
Oh, I tell you that no sign shall be given to this generation.
Except for Jesus rising from the dead,
Exactly.
and except for walking on water,
Well, he did that.
and except for raising Lazarus from the dead.
Right, he did that. No, but that's Jesus wasn't this generation. Jesus is that generation.
And Jesus said, "You will do greater things than I,"
Yes, and I agree. I've seen.
which includes these
Crazy
miracles.
No. I know it's very hard to believe, but I've seen crazier things than Jesus did in my own life. Just
Like miracles.
Yeah, but not in the respect that you would think of the mass. Just on levels that there's no other explanation.
No other explanation.
None.
Okay, what's the biggest
And
miracle
only
you've ever
since
seen?
being a believer, only since being a real believer. Before this, I mean, dude, before this, I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I don't know what, I can't even, I look back at who I was, man. I'm just like, no way, never again.
But if we
Never,
were walking
ever,
down
ever.
the street and we see someone frothing at the mouth and wriggling on the ground, and would you say that it's more likely they're demon possessed or they're going through an epileptic seizure?
I mean, it could be a combination, or it could be just one or the other.
If it's one or the other.
Seizures are real.
If it's
Seizures are real. People have seizures.
right. So would you lean that it's either demon possession or epileptic seizure? What's the first thing you would choose?
No, a seizure is a seizure. Even Jesus was all about that. Like when he healed the guy that was blind from
You know
birth.
what I'm asking.
Right, I do. When Jesus healed the guy that was blind from birth, the disciples asked him, they said, Who did sin that this man was born blind? And Jesus said, neither this man or his parents.
You see what you see. Would you guess that it's demon possession or an epileptic seizure?
Epileptic seizure, man. Call an ambulance.
Okay. Now, why do you go? That to me is a naturalistic explanation for the evidence that you're observing.
You haven't watched any of my videos where I deal with people that are possessed, have you?
No. Sorry to say I haven't been on your channel.
You should. You really should.
Okay, but how do you, if you go to a naturalistic explanation with the person on the street, if someone comes to you and starts behaving weirdly, you then go to a spiritual explanation?
Depends on the circumstance.
Okay, what circumstance would you say it's a spiritual explanation and not a naturalistic one?
I'm going to give you an example from today, okay?
Okay.
So earlier today when I was like, should I? And you're like, no, I don't want you on here. But now that I know that you've exhausted all resources and the show is boring, I came up here.
So you're saying this is spiritual that I let you on?
Yeah, it is. To a certain extent. It's more spiritual that you didn't.
Oh, the first time?
Yeah.
The fact that I did not let you on earlier was because I was demon possessed.
Right. But I'm trying to stray away from those conversations because I don't want you to tell me no in the future either. I care about you and I want to say hi.
Come to think of it, I think I was just like you in high school when a woman rejected me. I would say that the only possible explanation that a woman reject me in high school is they're possessed by the devil.
No. Doug, everybody that sins is possessed by the devil.
Yeah, I don't sin.
So they keep sinning.
I don't sin.
Right.
You know why I don't sin?
But we've been over this. You do. You still have the knowledge of good and evil, and you still do things that you think are wrong.
Sin doesn't exist.
So you're a believer in Jesus then. So I did my job.
Sin doesn't exist. That's why I can't sin.
You're just a closet Christian. I rocked you. You still rocking fake believers. I know that. You're rocking them all the time. I watch and I laugh. I sit back and I just laugh, and I feel ashamed because these people give people like me a bad name.
You know, they probably say the same thing about you, though. There's probably Christians.
Of course they do. Yeah, no, they do. You need to look at my channel.
So all Christians give all Christians a bad name, at least once in a while.
No, because you're calling fakes, you're calling them Christians, and they're not. Anybody that sins is a fraud.
As he lights up a cigarette.
Yeah, I can't sin, dude. I'm not under the law. Jesus fulfilled it for me. I'm perfect. That's the beauty of faith.
Can you take a big drag on that thing and then say anybody who sins is a fraud?
How long have you been not smoker?
I've never really smoked. I've had the odd cigar, but that's about it.
Cigars are good. I enjoy cigarettes. I used to hate myself for it, man. I wanted to kill myself. And I was like, oh, I'm going to quit.
You're not scared of getting lung cancer?
No. I'm not scared of death at all, man. For me to live is Christ and to die is gain.
So
I've got nothing in this life that I'm afraid of. There's not a goddamn thing I'm afraid of.
Do you put on your seatbelt when you go for a ride?
To avoid a ticket.
Okay.
I mean, that's welcome to America, buddy. That's the downside of being
But if you
wrong.
had your way... Listen to those lungs. If you had your way, you would want to die today?
Oh, I don't have any way.
Like if God himself were here and said, hey, preacher man, do you want to live or do you want to come up to heaven or do you want to die? What would you say?
Adios.
Okay.
Adios. I got to endure, though. That's what the Bible says, man. You have to endure. Suicide's not an option.
What? Why not?
Live it out. This is not.
Why is suicide not an option?
You're not enduring. You're not enduring.
But you can't sin, right? So suicide's not a sin.
Suicide is you not enduring. Therefore, you're not.
Not enduring is not a sin.
Not enduring is not believing. That's unbelief. You have to endure.
So there is such thing as sin for a Christian.
No, because a real believer will endure.
You're going the Calvinist route.
No, that's just what it is. A real believer will endure.
So a real believer
I experience it every day, man. Like we've got, we'll say, I would say I've got a solid 11 people that understand it, that know the book inside and out.
11.
And I would say that probably we've had 150 come and go within the last 2 years. And they come and they go, and they'll be there for like 6 months. And you think they're a believer, and you're like, oh, yeah, you're legit. But then there'll be a verse that they're
so
just
if someone
like,
comes to your Bible study and leaves after 5 months or so, then they were never a true believer?
1 John 2:19, man. You know the verse.
Man, it sounds like you're running a cult.
No, a cult would imply that, suicide's an option, which it's not. A cult would imply that we live together, which we don't. A cult would imply that one person runs the whole thing, which isn't true.
You know what I just did?
You need a towel.
I need a towel.
Doug, I'm happy I got to talk to you today, though, man. I really am. How have you been? For real? You good?
Yeah, I've said this 3 times. I'm really good.
That makes me feel good.
Oh, man.
I'm
starting to think Satan is real. Because when you come on, I spill my water.
Yes, you prove he is every time he's in.
I actually have another caller, so I'll let the fake Christian on, okay?
Well, can I be on with him?
No.
Come on, dog. Come on.
You'll scare Satan away.
Well, why do you want him by you? That's gross.
No. Satan's not that bad. You know Satan's never lied in the Bible?
He lied to Eve.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
What did he say to Eve?
He told her she wouldn't die.
And he was right. She didn't die.
He lied. She did.
He said, I tell you the truth, you will not surely die if you eat the fruit. And guess what? She lived to a
And
long old age.
She died. They both died. Adam and Eve.
I know, but it was
died.
clear Satan was, and
now you're going to die too because of those 2 morons.
that God put in the garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Take care, preacher man.
Yeah. Take it easy, buddy.
Don't commit suicide.
Never.
But keep smoking, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you think those cigarettes are helping you endure?
All things are reconciled. He created those too.
Can I even say that on a live stream? The word suicide? Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Então vai tomar no meio do teu cu, rapá.
Oh, that was interesting. I don't know what language that was. You have to use self-deletion now. That's a PC term. Well, I'm still live streaming, so it must not be too bad. Let's see here. Okay, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Take care of yourselves. Don't smoke like the preacher man. But you can chew nicotine gum if you want. Poof!